What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Thursday, September 26th, 2024, and I have an emergency alert to share with you guys. Right now, it is 14:42 Eastern Time here in the United States, and we have some major breaking news coming in from Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and from also here in the United States. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin has announced proposed changes to Russia's nuclear war doctrine in another thinly veiled warning to Western nations that continue to back Ukraine in the war. In opening remarks before a meeting with senior officials on Russia's nuclear deterrence on Wednesday, which were released by the Kremlin and translated by NBC News, Putin said that a number of clarifications defining the conditions for the use of nuclear weapons are being made to the document that defines Russia's nuclear doctrine. He added that draft amendments to the doctrine expand the category of states and military alliances in relation to which nuclear deterrence is carried out, and included a supplemented list of military threats that Russia would see as a justification to deploy nuclear weapons. In a pointed warning to the Western nations as they continue to support Ukraine, Putin announced that any attack against Russia by a non-nuclear state that was backed by a nuclear-armed state would be considered a joint attack. What I would especially like to draw your attention to is that in the updated version of the document, aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state but with the participation or support of a nuclear state is proposed to be considered as their joint attack on the Russian Federation, Putin said. Okay, so Putin has revised the Russian nuclear war doctrine, allowing Russia to use nuclear weapons if Ukraine conducts deep strikes on Russia with the support of the U.S., Great Britain, France, and NATO countries. So this is very serious, guys. Okay, this is basically Putin giving a final warning to the West, saying if you allow Ukraine to conduct deep strikes, we're going to nuke Ukraine and possibly NATO and Western countries. So guys, make sure you have a nuclear war survival plan. Make sure you have a bug out plan. Make sure you have a fallout shelter nearby. And this afternoon, we have U.S. nuclear forces on high alert. What you're looking at here is a live flight tracker showing 3 nuclear war command and control planes up in the air. One over the East Coast, one over the Midwest, and one over the West Coast. And we also have 2 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne right now, one over the panhandle of Texas and one over Southern California. And just 2 days ago, we had high priority nuclear attack options broadcasted to U.S. nuclear forces. These were the Skymaster messages, the same type of messages that I monitored back in April on the famous culinary night. So these Skymaster messages are the highest priority nuclear messages below the emergency war order, which is the actual order to launch nukes given by the president and the Pentagon. So this is very, very serious. And yesterday we had 3 B-52 nuclear bombers airborne over the United States. And also overnight last night, we had a lot of nuclear attack options broadcasted in the middle of the night and early this morning to tactical units, which is extremely unusual. Okay, a tactical unit is usually a bomber or a airborne asset of some kind, and these nuclear attack options were going out to these airborne assets overnight last night and this morning. They were up on my live stream. I was picking them up on the NYPrepper radio station. I have a 400-foot antenna, so I can pick up all the strategic forces of nuclear-armed countries worldwide. And this update was sponsored by My Patriot Supply. Guys, My Patriot Supply is doing a discount on their 1-month emergency food supply. And to get the deal, you got to go to preparewithnyprepper.com, and the link is in the description below this video. This is a 1-month freeze-dried food supply. It has a 25-year shelf life. Normal price is $237. They've dropped it down to $177. So that's a savings of $60. And it's all packed within 2 rugged, water-resistant buckets. Free shipping is included. $177 for 1 month of food. Where are you going to find a deal like that? So use the link preparewithnyprepper.com to get $60 off the My Patriot Supply 1-month emergency food supply. That's $180 for 1 month of food. Free shipping included. The link is in the description below this video, and any signals that they broadcast, and I have that piped into the 24/7 stream. So something's about to go down. I'm not sure exactly what, but something big is about to go down. I think as soon as the UN General Assembly ends this week. So in the coming days, possibly this weekend, we could see things kick off. Here we have the video that was released by the Kremlin showing Putin discussing the revisions to Russia's nuclear war doctrine, allowing Russia to use nuclear weapons if Ukraine conducts deep strikes on Russia with the help of the United States, Great Britain, France, and other NATO countries. This is absolutely huge news, guys. Very, very concerning. And here we have video footage of the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, holding a meeting with his top generals 2 days ago, telling them to prepare for war. Okay, so something huge is about to go down. We know that the U.S. green-lighted the deep strikes on Russia today. Okay, various sources are reporting that the White House has green-lighted Ukraine to conduct the deep strikes on Russia. And when I say deep strikes, we're talking 200, 300, 400, 500 miles into Russia. Okay, maybe even as far as Moscow. Okay, this is one of Russia's red lines. Okay, Zelensky already said that his victory plan, his 5-point victory plan, does not include a peace deal with Russia, and that the main component of the victory plan is to force Russia into peace. Okay, so Zelensky's not going to give up, Putin's not going to give up, and the result is going to be escalation and mushroom clouds over Europe. Okay, I hate to say it, but I think that's where this is going, guys. Okay, neither side wants to back down. And U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken on Thursday called Russian President Vladimir Putin totally irresponsible after he threatened to use nuclear weapons in the case of a major air attack by Ukraine. Blinken said it's totally irresponsible, and I think many in the world have spoken clearly about that when he's been rattling the nuclear saber, including China, in the past, Blinken said in an MSNBC television interview as he attended the UN General Assembly. And senior Pentagon officials have proposed providing Ukraine with white phosphorus munitions for use on the battlefield, but the White House has rejected the initiative several times, 3 knowledgeable sources told NBC. They said the munitions were to be used for lighting and smoke screens, not for use against enemy troops. The Defense Department has recommended that phosphorus shells be included in several aid packages, including the latest one. So this is crazy, guys. White phosphorus is a banned weapon. Okay, it's an incendiary weapon, and it was banned because of the horrific injuries it causes, and especially on civilians. Okay, and the U.S. Defense Department was recommending giving it to Ukraine to supposedly use for smoke screens and illumination. Not sure if I believe that. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is expected to present his victory plan to Biden at the White House today, okay? And a source close to Zelensky told the Kyiv Independent last week that it aims to create such conditions and such an atmosphere that Russia will no longer be able to ignore the peace formula and the peace summit. Okay, so various sources close to Zelensky reporting that the victory plan centers around forcing Putin into peace. Okay, basically forcing him to surrender. And Biden is going to convene a special meeting of NATO defense ministers in October at Ramstein Air Base to discuss the situation in Ukraine. So what it sounds like to me is Biden is gathering all the defense ministers in October to discuss the deep strikes. Okay, he wants to coordinate everything, plan everything out, not just the deep strikes themselves, but also any contingencies that would result from it if Russia, let's say, attacks NATO countries or nukes Ukraine. So this is extremely serious, guys, okay? Very serious. It does appear that NATO and the U.S. has greenlighted Ukraine to conduct these deep strikes. I think they want to do it before Trump gets into office. I think that's why they're pushing for this so fast right before the election also. Okay, this could all pop off right before the election. These deep strikes could happen right after Biden's meeting with the NATO defense ministers right before the election, and then World War III could kick off before the election, and then that would basically cancel the election. So I want to just update you guys on the situation between Israel and Hezbollah. That's continuing to escalate as well. It does appear that Israel is about to invade Lebanon on the ground. They've already detonated thousands of pagers belonging to Hezbollah 2 weeks ago or a week ago. They've conducted massive airstrikes on Hezbollah in southern Lebanon over the weekend. And now we're hearing that thousands and thousands of Lebanese people have evacuated from southern Lebanon. So I think as soon as the UN General Assembly ends, we're going to see things really kick off between Israel and Hezbollah. And we'll have to wait and see if Iran gets involved. Iran has stated that they would get involved and that Hezbollah will not stand alone. And IDF forces have observed suspicious movements along the Lebanese border, and apparently the area is currently under surveillance. And the Lebanese Emergency Committee is reporting that more than 16,000 Lebanese people have fled to Syria. And the Israeli defense minister said today that he approved the next phase of operations for the Israeli army to conduct on the northern front. Okay, so very concerning. And there was a ceasefire proposal by the U.S. and France, which was apparently rejected by Netanyahu today. Some sources in the U.S. were claiming that Netanyahu signed a 3-week ceasefire, but this is not true. Netanyahu has not signed any ceasefire agreements. And the Israeli army attacked infrastructure used to transfer weapons from Syrian territory to Hezbollah in Lebanon, the IDF press service reported. Israeli Air Force fighter jets recently attacked infrastructure on the Syrian-Lebanese border that is used by the Hezbollah terror organization to transfer weapons from Syrian territory to Hezbollah in Lebanon. Hezbollah uses these means of warfare against Israeli citizens, according to the IDF. So this is all biblical, guys. Okay, all these countries around Israel working together to attack Israel, Syria, Russia, Iran, Libya, Egypt, Jordan. The list is growing. Okay, even Iraq is turning against Israel now. And the UN nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, has been pushing Iran to lift its ban on UN weapons inspectors from visiting Iranian nuclear sites, but the IAEA chief, Rafael Grossi, told Reuters that success seems unlikely. Unfortunately, this ship has sailed, Rafael Grossi said, head of the International Atomic Agency. He said this on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. The IAEA has strongly condemned the step taken by Iran a year ago as unprecedented and called it a very serious blow to its ability to carry out meaningful inspections of Iran's nuclear facilities. Until a few months ago, they say they were considering, and now they say they are not going to reincorporate these inspectors to the list. So unfortunately, this ship has sailed, Grossi told Reuters. So very bad news, guys. Iran is not going to allow weapons inspectors into their nuclear facilities. You want to know why? Because they're developing nuclear warheads. They may already have nuclear warheads. Okay? And Biden has instructed the Pentagon to allocate all the funds earmarked for Ukraine by the end of his term in office, which amounts to about $5.5 billion. In addition, Biden instructed to expand the training of Ukrainian pilots on F-16s and to give Ukraine an additional Patriot air defense battery along with missiles. So very, very serious, guys. Ukraine is going to get $5.5 billion worth of equipment, more Patriot missiles and batteries before the end of Biden's term. And the U.S. is going to provide Ukraine with the Joint Standoff Weapon cruise missiles for F-16s in the latest aid package for Ukraine, totaling $375 million. These missiles have a range of 70 miles and will help Ukraine in the Kursk offensive. So basically, Ukraine is going to use these JSOW missiles on Russian territory in Kursk. Okay? Germany has just approved a $500 million military aid package for Ukraine. And the West has almost exhausted its weapons stockpiles due to long deliveries to the Ukrainian armed forces, according to the UK Times. Britain's Under-Secretary of State for Defense Pollard stressed that Western allies must now develop a strategy to maintain a steady flow of equipment and ammunition. And New York City Mayor Eric Adams has been indicted on criminal charges by the federal government for corruption. Wow. And I want to just show you guys some more flight paths here. So this afternoon, we had a KC-135 aerial refueler flying off the coast of Virginia Beach, way out in the Atlantic. They've been flying here a lot recently. I'm not sure why. Also, we have a sub-hunter flying really low over the Chesapeake Bay, doing hundreds of loops here, keeping an eye on the Chesapeake Bay, making sure that no underwater reconnaissance drones and vessels are entering the Chesapeake Bay. We also had some high-priority reconnaissance off the coast of Southern California and Baja California last night. This is extremely unusual. We had two RC-135 rivet joints take off from Offutt Air Base last night. One of them flew all the way to San Diego and Los Angeles area, and it was doing these north to south loops here, keeping an eye on the Pacific near Southern California. And then there was another one that went all the way down to the bottom of Baja California and hugged the coastline of Baja California and then came all the way back. So very concerning. Something's going on over here off of Baja California and Southern California. And we also have some interesting activity over Poland right now. We have a Polish AWACS plane patrolling the border of Russia and Poland right now in northern Poland, but also we had 3 German Air Force planes fly into Poland, northwest Poland, and they turned their transponders off once they passed Szczecin, which is a city in northwest Poland. You could see the flight paths here, 1, 2, and 3. 2 of them flew over the Świnoujście Bay. There's actually a big port here. Poland has a huge port, a container terminal here. There's a big lagoon. But it looks like they were heading east towards the Suwalki Gap and close to Belarus, and they turned their transponders off. Very interesting. No information about these German Air Force planes. It's just their call signs were Judge 1, Judge 2, and Scare 1. No registration, no aircraft information, no barometric altitude, nothing. So these could be some kind of fighter jets responding to maybe some kind of an incursion into Poland's airspace by Russian fighter jets or some kind of a contingency. This is extremely unusual. I'm not sure what's going on over here, but it's very unusual. We had a lot of reconnaissance over Poland and the Baltics last night. Here you can see a Swedish reconnaissance plane patrolling the border of Poland and Russia and Poland and Belarus. Another Italian reconnaissance plane doing hundreds of loops over the Baltic countries, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Okay, very unusual. We also had a lot of aerial refuelers operated by the U.S. and Great Britain in the North Sea last night, refueling various types of aerial assets. This is not too common either. And then here we have a Russian Air Force plane that landed in Kaliningrad. Very concerning. Could be some equipment or troops being funneled into Kaliningrad to prepare for a war against the Baltics and Poland. You can see this Italian reconnaissance plane doing all these loops here. This is something I've actually yet to see in the Baltics. Very concerning. We also have Hurricane Helen bearing down on the Florida Panhandle and Georgia and the southern Appalachians. So here you can see Hurricane Helen, and there's actually two other tropical systems right now. We have a disturbance in the central tropical Atlantic here with a 90% chance of development. So even after Helen does its damage, we also have this disturbance moving towards the Caribbean now, okay? But Helen is expected to make landfall tonight near Florida's Big Bend region. We could see storm surges of up to 20 feet or more, which is catastrophic. That's basically the same amount of storm surge that was seen in Hurricane Katrina in southern Louisiana, okay? And also the same amount as Hurricane Sandy on Long Island. So massive storm surge. There's going to be a lot of destruction here on the Big Bend in Florida. I will try to monitor the hurricane tonight, the landfall. I'm going to try to get some live cameras up on my 24/7 stream so we can watch the landfall and monitor it. And here's the latest satellite loop. You can see a well-defined eye. It's currently at Category 3 status, 120 mile per hour winds. Okay, so this thing could even strengthen a little bit more before it makes landfall. That's exactly what Hurricane Katrina did. Okay, hurricanes are known to just rapidly intensify in the Gulf of Mexico because the water is so warm here, and there's usually very little wind shear in the Gulf of Mexico. It's just like a stagnant pond of hot water, essentially. And once the hurricane gets over it, it just explodes. Okay, so this could still intensify. We'll have to wait and see. But there's a lot of models showing as much as 20 or 30 inches of rain in western North Carolina in the Smoky Mountains, which is going to cause catastrophic flash flooding, catastrophic mudslides, all kinds of problems. Okay, so if you live near a river, a stream, a creek, you need to have some kind of evacuation plan and get you some flood insurance if you don't have any yet, because this is going to be catastrophic for the Smoky Mountains and also the mountains of South Carolina, like the northern part of South Carolina, western North Carolina, eastern Tennessee. This area is going to be absolutely pummeled by rainfall, okay? Obviously, Georgia is going to be hit hard as well. And then you're going to have the storm surge flooding along the Big Bend in Florida. Here we have the latest update from the National Hurricane Center. Air Force hurricane hunters find that Helen is a major hurricane. The Air Force hurricane hunters found the maximum sustained winds have increased to near 120 miles per hour. This makes Helen a dangerous Category 3 major hurricane. Additional strengthening is expected before Helen makes landfall in the Florida Big Bend this evening. Okay, this is very serious, guys. Lots of people in the path of this storm. Okay, you can see these orange colors here in western North Carolina. There's going to be some very catastrophic flooding in the Smoky Mountains and the foothills of the Smokies. Okay, it's going to be really bad. I saw one model showing as much as 30 inches of rain. Okay, so get prepared, guys. Atlanta is going to get hit with probably 5 to 10 inches of rain as well. So very serious. Here's the latest storm surge map for Florida, and you can see this huge area of 10 to 20 foot storm surges from Apalachicola all the way down to Anclote River. This whole bend area here is going to get up to 20 foot storm surges. So get prepared, guys. I will be monitoring this storm, and I probably will be going live to cover the landfall tonight. So make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have your notifications turned on. Also consider following me on Twitter and Telegram. I post all my updates there and extra content there. Sometimes YouTube doesn't send out notifications when I post videos or go live, but if you follow me on Telegram and Twitter, you'll always get my updates. So until later on, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.